It's 6 p.m. and if it's 6 p.m. on a Wednesday, it's time for Off the Record with Allie Braswell. I'm your host. So good to be back with you. I know we've been away for a few weeks, but take a look around. If I could wave the camera around here, you would see we're in a new studio. Got an exciting guest that's joining me here this evening. But if it's 6 o'clock on a Wednesday, it's time for Off the Record, the Real Talk podcast. This is where we come together to drop some leadership nuggets, and I'm here to tell you, I'm so excited about my guest who's here with me, Mr. Reginald B. McGill. And the topic of this series is the voice of leadership. And we're kicking off this here being the third episode. As you know, we have had Brigadier General Daphne Davis talk with us. We've had Major General Robert Edmondson of the United States Army. Both of these leaders were incredible with talking about the voice from within. And then having General Edmondson come on and talk with us about the voice of influence. But I'm telling you, none of the other two matter if you don't put it into action. And joining me here to talk about finding that purpose and service is none other than Reginald B. McGill. Reggie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. I'm excited to be here.
Please tell them a little bit about you so they get a chance to know you as well as I do. And I'm here to tell you folks, y'all might get tired if he explains just one day.
You can tell this man is my friend. On a serious note, I'm a product of Orlando, Florida. I worked for the city of Orlando, working in the office of Mayor Buddy Dyer, serving as his constituent services director. I've been in public service now for over 30 years, and it has been a blessing that I've been able to feed my family doing something that I love and that I feel that I'm called to do.
And see, what I really believe he's saying there, folks, is every journey begins with a calling, and his calling truly is service. It's a moment where we realize that serving others is not what we do, but who we are. Discuss formative experiences that shaped your experience is what we're going to do next.
Yes,
I want to take us back to, when did you first realize that service was one of your key influences?
Can I be honest with you? Elementary school. As a school patrol.
School patrol?
Yes, sir.
So you had the orange reflector on?
Yes, I did. And the badge.
And which school was that?
Washington Shores Elementary School.
Washington Shores. See, now shout out to Orlando, that's home. And I want to talk about little Reggie.
Yes,
and what grade would you have been in when you were wearing the safety patrol?
Third grade.
Third grade.
And usually you didn't get it until you were in fifth grade.
So you were ahead of your time.
Yes, sir.
So, and what was it about serving the students and serving the community that really piqued your interest and inspired you to today?
For me, it was family, because that's what I saw. And so I patterned my life after what I was exposed to. I had a mother and a father who understood giving back and the importance. But it was really my grandmother, who was an entrepreneur, had a business on Paramore, which is in the heart of the Black community. And she gave to me. And as I got older, I said, Big Mama, you're giving away all of your profit. But it was then I saw the difference of feeding people when they were hungry, meeting people where they were and not where they would want to be, but where they were.
So when we talk about the voices of leadership, and you talk about the voice being Big Mama, because I had a Big Mama too, y'all. I'm here to tell you, it wasn't Big Mama that Martin portrayed.
Right.
This was a real person.
Absolutely.
That solved everything, But when you think about that and her desire to make sure people, in 2025, we kind of lost that, right? But
Yes.
This is why I think you serve as hard as you do. And let's talk about your affiliation with this incredible group called the Alphas.
Yes.
Maybe I'm not getting it right.
Yes.
Let me stop.
Yes, sir. It's all good. Number one, let me be crystal clear. I believe in Panhellenic Council. I believe when we work together, there is power in numbers. And I'll just say this. When I got married, there were 3 alphas, there were 2 kappas, there were 2 omegas, and there were 2 phi beta sigmas, because those are who my friends were. And so I say that to say it's all about getting the work done. And I think that when there's movement in numbers, and I just believe wholeheartedly, the more you give, the more you get.
And being a part of Alpha Phi Alpha, let me stop because I don't want any alphas reaching out and trying to touch me. But the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is just another one of the incredible service organizations that make up the National Panhellenic Council, or what we affectionately call the Divine Nine. And I'm here to tell you, I really enjoyed being a Phi Beta Sigma fraternity man. But I'm also here to tell you that as a member, one of the things that galvanizes and comes together is there's an incredible alpha by the name of Jermaine Patterson that reaches out to all of us. And we all come together around scouting because it's another way of teaching our kids and serving our community. And that's just a great example of how that group who you just talked about, along with the sororities and the other fraternity members, come together to make a difference. And when you really think about it, they serve with compassion.
Oh, no question. And you mentioned the Boy Scouts. I was a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout growing up. And so again, it taught discipline, responsibility. And those are hallmarks in terms of how I try to do business at this stage in my life. December 4th, I'll celebrate 50 years of Alpha.
Did you hear that, folks?
50 years.
Wherever you are, let's take a moment, put our hands together, because 50 years in any organization is incredible. 50 years as an alpha man. I'm here to tell you, he leads with integrity. He leads totally with service. There's many times, Reggie, where we have been together and he's coming to say remarks on behalf of the city, only to say, he starts his remarks with, I'm going to apologize in advance because I'm going to leave because I had to be somewhere else. Absolutely. How many events sometimes are you doing in a single day?
I have been to 11 events in 3 counties in one day. And it's not about just showing up. It's about follow-up. Many times I can get into those spaces and those places because we have relationships that are established and folk understand the work, and the work really does continue.
And that's where that compassion shows up to help sustain you, right? With leadership.
No question.
Where have you been in an opportunity where you've given, say, to a young person and then see it return years later? Because I remember when we first met, we were in a West Orange High School choral room with our daughters. And again, we were both signing up to serve.
Absolutely. I would say most recently, there was a young woman who lost her husband in a motorcycle accident. She had a 4-year-old son. She was working on her doctoral degree, and her father was critically ill. And she just did not think she could wake up to see the next day. And we met her where she was, not where she had been, but where she was, supporting her, making sure that her son did not miss a beat in terms of everything that he needed to do, showing support to her, with caring for her father, and to see her now about to graduate with this doctoral degree. The son now is playing basketball and is a leader in his elementary school. And so it's those kinds of things, not the titles, not the positions, but doing the work. For me, that's fulfillment. People ask me, what's your favorite hobby? And I say community service.
Wow.
And it is.
Yeah, a lot of times when we serve, we don't really have a hobby, right?
Right.
Yeah, I've been asked that same question, but how do you stay so grounded in empathy with your leadership when it becomes difficult and handling difficult subjects like that?
Number one is my Christian walk.
Okay.
I make no bones about it. And I don't have to tell you that I'm a Christian. You should be able to tell about what I do and what I say and who I interact with and who I interface with. And that does not mean that I'm perfect. I definitely have my own limitations and flaws. But what I've also learned is you got to take care of this body in order to serve. And so at this stage in my life, I'm looking at living healthier, making better choices as it relates to wellness and wholeness. And I would employ anyone at this stage in your life to do, if you want to see the next phase, you've got to take care of this temple that we call body.
That's right, because I know folks, he's only 39 and only been serving 30 years. So, we took him right out of elementary school, right from when he put on that safety patrol vest, stepped him in. But Reggie, you've been giving back to this community for so long. But service, you are the epitome of service. When I was looking for the person that would talk about this voice of leadership, you immediately came to mind. I've seen you serving the National Panhandle Atlantic Council. I've seen you serving on the national level. Talk a little bit about some of the national roles that you've held as a part of your service.
I am currently serving as chair of the grants committee for the connectional lay organization within the AME Church. Prior to then, it was my pleasure to serve as chair of the Social Action Committee for that same organization. As I said, my faith is very, very important, and I am so grateful to serve on the executive committee of the executive board of the general board of the AME Church. Those are just some of the opportunities that have allowed me to grow and develop and to give back on in the fraternity. I have served on a national level, serving again in the area of political action and social action.
Political action, folks, he's being so honest and kind. But this gentleman also has been at a lot of the political actions that are happening within our country. He's been present when people were selected, when President Barack Obama was selected to become president of the United States or nominated by the Democratic Convention. I believe you were there and had a role in that.
I was. Talking about having favor and given an opportunity to grow and make a contribution. Honestly, I have served as a delegate to the Democratic National Convention on 8 different times. So for 32 years, I've had the opportunity to serve at that level.
32 years, folks.
Yes, sir.
So see, I really truly believe that you're the epitome of that. Service comes alive when purpose meets people, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's what you have been doing because of the things that you believe in, your faith.
Yes, sir.
Then secondly, your service. And I believe, rounding this thing out, let's really talk about what nugget would you give someone that's thinking about how do I bring service into the realm of possibilities of what I do? Because a lot of people say, well, I don't know where to serve.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how to serve. What would you tell them?
I would say, look at where the need is. And then secondly, what you enjoy doing. And third, how then can you bring somebody else along to have that same kind of experience? As I mentioned, I can support what you're doing, Allie, because I know at the end of the day, you have a heart for doing what's right. And typically, when you're involved in something, engaged in something, it's going to impact somebody else. And then that means that other persons then will have an opportunity to grow and develop and show their leadership as well.
And I appreciate that because you we know who Mayor Buddy Dyer is, and he's done a phenomenal job leading this city, the city beautiful, for over 20 years. But Reggie, you have been there all of those years and then some.
It was Mayor Glenda Hood, the first and to date only female to serve as mayor, hired me. And I'm so grateful that Mayor Dyer has retained me.
And folks, I'm here to tell you when I had the pleasure of leading the Urban League, guess who was there? Reginald B. McGill. When I had the opportunity to serve the Army as a civilian aide, guess who was there? Reginald B. McGill. When we were at the Florida Classic, guess who's there? Reginald B. McGill. He embodies what the spirit of service is. And as we begin to wrap this up and bring this together, I want to talk about some of the key things that how can a leader take what you're doing, service, and translate that intention into meaningful everyday acts?
Let me just say, I am so grateful that I'm able to do what I love and feed my family. Some call what I do as a job, but it's really, for me, it's a ministry that I'm able to feed my family and make a meaningful contribution. I'm not interested in being elected. I've been able to, I believe, to touch so many lives being appointed and working behind the scenes to get the work done. And that's where the enjoyment comes. And I would say, always look at what else can I do? How else can I grow? How else can I support somebody else to also realize what their dreams may be?
And you know what? And he does that, folks. And oftentimes when we try to honor him, he is so humbled by the fact that we're honoring him. And, this is another way of me honoring you. I remember when we gave you the Getting in Good Trouble Award 2 years ago and how that service was being recognized in that moment. But how do you reflect on your why you do it is more than after an award? A lot of people look at leadership and look at growing. They're looking for the accolades. They're looking for the rubber stamp, but you lead from the heart. How do you lead and let true service be the reward?
Let me just back up and say, number one, for me, it has been family. My wife and I will celebrate 42 years of marriage uh, in less than a month. And so for that, she understands what's important to me, and that's helping others. And we've tried to embody that with our daughter, um, who's very independent, in her own right. But those things are important. So I just have to give a shout out to my wife and to my daughter, as I mentioned, my parents, and I could not conclude without saying my in-laws. I've been married for over 40 years. We've never had a falling out, and for that I am most grateful. Didn't say we didn't always agree, but I've always respected them. Again, my brother, thank you for this opportunity, Brother Allie, and we are so proud of you as you move on, upward and onward.
Well, sir, I'm just so pleased that we can take this time. It means a lot to me because the Off the Record, the Real Talk podcast is about having real people come in and have real conversations. And I hope that whoever's listening, that you'll remember Reginald B. McGill as a man of service, someone who really knows that true service begins where the recognition ends. It's not about being in the spotlight. It's about serving from the heart. And I'm sure as both our big mamas was looking down, our ancestors would say, you're proud of them two little boys, from Oviedo and Orlando that are making a difference. So in wrapping up, we could sit here and talk for another hour. I would love for you to talk about something that you did at the city of Orlando, that you initiated. It's a service project that you're so proud of.
There are a couple of things that come to mind, but as I mentioned, I've had the opportunity to work with our faith-based community, and providing an opportunity for Mayor Dyer to hear from our religious leadership, our faith-based leadership has been critical. And so, matter of fact, in 2 days he will convene the faith-based community together to talk about our issues and see how we can partner to make a difference. And that's when we come together as Christians and Jews and Gentiles and all working together, even persons who may not have a faith, uh, to, 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 to make sure that we are meeting not what we think are the needs, but what people are telling us and what they're living through to assist. And so that has been helpful to see 50 or 75 of these community leaders, these faith leaders from around this region coming together to address issues and problems has been a delight. Let me just simply say, too, that for the last 40 years, I've worked in public service. I've worked for two congresspersons and two mayors. And so that has also shaped me to have a better understanding, a better appreciation for the opportunity at the city. And so my employment has been meaningful and has been fulfilling. And I'm so grateful to still have an opportunity to still serve. And though my wife is retired, I still get up and work every day.
So his wife's retired, but he's still serving the city. And that had to be incredible because you get to traverse the city and talk in these different areas of the religious practice of faith.
Yes, sir.
And then to bring this interfaith service together to where they're going to come in and share.
Yes, sir.
That's got to be rewarding.
It has been. And I'll simply say, my wife also for 35 years worked for Orange County Public Schools.
Yes, she did.
And she was the manager of school board member services. So she actually worked for the superintendent and the chair of the board. And so many times we would talk, we helped each other to problem solve.
There's been many times I've called her to get him and called him to get to her.
Absolutely.
Because service, as you have demonstrated over the years, is not just one single act. It's a continuum of acts. Your Rolodex is extensive. When I think of something, and many times I have called him, folks, and he'll be on his way to some far off land across the country, I think I even interrupted his cruise, folks, okay, right after she retired with a call, but he doesn't think it robbery for him to give an act of service of just answering the phone. So when you're thinking about leadership and you're thinking about service and action as a leader, one of the reasons I chose Reginald was because it comes without any strings attached. it comes with an expectation of excellence being delivered. And it's always there. And as leaders, what we sometimes have to do is demonstrate the behavior that we want others to emulate. And Reggie, I'm here to tell you on behalf of a grateful city, members of this Orlando National Panhellenic Council, and from the Brothers of Phi Beta Sigma, as we shared with you, when we gave him the Getting in Good Trouble Award, it was about giving him an award that really recognized his service, because our brother, the Honorable John Robert Lewis, was always out there serving, whether that was walking in Selma, in fighting for our rights, or whether that was standing in Congress as the member from Georgia, making sure that we protected the very tenets of what the American people believe. John Robert Lewis was always about getting in good trouble, necessary trouble. And I want to tell you that as we bring this to a close, Reginald B. McGill will always be getting in good trouble. In fact, I'm holding him here on his way to go get into some good trouble, some necessary trouble. Reggie, thank you for joining me here. I appreciate you so much.
Appreciate you, brother. Know that.
Know if it's Wednesday and it's 6 o'clock, please join us again next week, and we'll see you on Off the Record, the Real Talk podcast.